I think I put myself into a challenge this year by climbing Kilimanjaro. Until I've heard your story, and I got then inspired by that you climbed Kilimanjaro, and I saw your book the other day. So I'm looking forward to receiving my copy. And
Of course.
yeah, I think if we can start maybe before I get too much detail about my life, I just want to say it is an honor to have you on this call this evening, and to learn from you and to learn from your story and to learn where you came from as a person, what made you want to climb Kilimanjaro. Why that crazy thought? My life. Um, People say I am crazy. People say, Kobus, why Kobus? And I think in your story, you will probably share with us, the moment you got onto the top of the mountain and you look down and realize, wow, I climbed Kilimanjaro. Um, just for those who are looking to that are on this call with us this morning, this evening, is that I'm born as a hemophilia. And so I have no joints. I don't even have elbow joints. I don't have ankle joints. And about 2 years ago, I was in a wheelchair and I wasn't being able to walk. And the only way I could get myself going forward was to put myself into this goal, this vision of climbing Kilimanjaro. So, KK, over to you. I'm going to have this to you. Please share with us. And I'm in the end of the chat, let me know, and then we can start some Q&A and take it from there.
All right, great. Kobus, thank you very much for the opportunity. I don't know if you remember though. I actually did one of your firewalks about 2-3 years ago. So that was brilliant. You are an inspiration to me as well. Considering all the challenges you were born with. Some of the things that you had to go through, even your failures, which is something that I love that you share a lot. You talk a lot about your failures, and it's something that I like to embrace as well because it's such a beautiful learning experience for all of us. I hope you can hear me. All right, fantastic. I just want to say hi to Pete Nell, Petra Snell, and Dr. Alexandra Evergroen as well, who I know both are listening in. Thanks, guys, for joining in. Guys, this is somebody else that you really need to know. Kobus Visser is really an inspiration, and I think, I also love your humility, bro. You're such an amazing guy. I learn from you as well, and again, thanks for the opportunity. So, in maybe telling people a little bit about who I am. I'm an ordinary guy at the end of the day. I'm somebody who was born on the farm, and the book that you mentioned, The Climb, really talks about that. I wrote that book to really talk about who I am as an individual, where I come from, where I was born, the kind of challenges that I really grew up with. Considering I come from a broken family, my parents divorced, when I was in my first year of college. It really broke the family apart, literally. And worse things happened to my brother as a consequence. I've had my own struggles. I had my business failure way back then in the past. I struggled to see my kids. Things like I actually write about those things in the book. So I guess what I'm trying to create a context around is I'm a human being. I'm an ordinary person like everybody else. I'm not Superman. And so me having achieved the things that I've achieved, including having climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, is not because I'm made of something different than the next person. And I think during this call, we are going to talk about some of those things and how I started, thinking differently about how to, I guess, pursue the challenges, and not just for myself, because the crazy thing about me having pursued climbing Mount Kilimanjaro was not necessarily just for me to test myself, but it was to teach a lesson. And more than anything, I say it was to rob people of their excuses. That is literally the reason why I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. So as a business coach, I come across a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business people, aspiring young people who want to either start a business or even pursue a professional career. And there are two excuses that you hear a lot. One of them is, people, yes, they are facing challenges, one of those excuses is that we don't have money. We don't have money to start a business. And the second one is I don't have experience. I don't have experience to go into, consulting, or I don't have experience to go into engineering, or whatever the case may be, or I don't have money to go to college or to start my business. And because I preach principles, I speak and teach principles on how people can overcome those challenges in my line of work. I realized that continuing to do the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, would be insanity, as Einstein puts it. And so what I then decided to do at the time was, what different avenue can I use that will help me teach a more, I guess, a more impactful lesson around how people can overcome these challenges. And so what I did is I said, let me pursue an extreme goal, right? A goal that is way bigger than myself, and also not to use my own money, because I'd be cheating at the end of the day. Because what I wanted to do is I wanted to show the young people, and obviously the grown-ups out there, that you can achieve massive goals in your life without experience, without the resources. And so I took on the journey then to climb on Kilimanjaro in order to rob people of those excuses, and to show them that any one of us can achieve great goals as long as you follow certain principles. And so, and I know we'll come back to this, but I eventually climbed Mount Kilimanjaro on my first attempt. And the whole idea was, let me learn certain principles and lessons that I will then come back and teach people when on my return. And so in retrospect, when I came back, there were 5 principles that I then discovered, that without those 5 principles, I wouldn't have made it up that mountain. And I guess we'll maybe unpack what those principles are, but maybe let me just quickly list them. The first one was purpose. Have a compelling purpose that's going to help drive you to overcome challenges when you pursue your goals. And the next one is leadership. Leadership is not necessarily about leading other people. The very first person you must lead is yourself. And so self-leadership, and obviously leading others, was a very big component that enabled me to summit. And then thirdly, value proposition. I think we sometimes in inverted commas, underestimate the importance of us demonstrating a value proposition to ourselves and to other people. So, and maybe let me unpack that a little bit. What I did for a few years while I was trying to raise sponsorships was that I was speaking to different sponsors and telling them about how I'm trying to inspire young people, blah, blah, blah. And then they were not buying my story. And then I realized that my value proposition was wrong. It really wasn't about what I was trying to achieve, but in every instance, the value proposition has to be relevant to the other person that you're speaking to. And so I needed to define a value proposition and to present a value proposition to my sponsors that will help them buying into the cause, and therefore support me in order to help me fund the project so I can ultimately summit on Kilimanjaro. So, and maybe we can touch on that a little bit later. But the key lesson there is, as people, we forget the importance of being able to articulate a value proposition for the other person, not just for ourselves. And then fourth principle was relationships. I couldn't have done this on my own. One of my favorite African proverbs says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with others. And without relationships, I couldn't have achieved the success that I achieved. For one, it was a one-man climb, i.e., it was myself going to climb that mountain. But without the people who helped me to share the costs as a group, I wouldn't have made it out there. Without the sponsors, I wouldn't have made it out there. And more importantly, without the people who needed to guide me up the mountain, I wouldn't have made it up there. So the kind of relationships I think that we need to develop and cultivate is extremely important. And then just lastly, my last principle was really, all about commitment. What kind of emotional, psychological commitment was I going to make to this journey? And I think if I was just playing, if I wasn't serious, I wasn't making the right kind of commitment, I honestly wouldn't have made it out there. And another perspective around commitment is sometimes we expect other people to commit to us first before we commit to them, even though the journey and the goal and the mission is ours. And so that was one of the things that I needed to learn. And I do share it in the book, and I also share it in the talks that I do around this talk called Climb Your Mountain. So just from a context perspective, that was my journey. And yeah, it was the single most life-changing journey and experience of my life. And again, I appreciate you helping me relive that experience, Kobus.
Thank you for sharing that. Because I think it's very important. We as a group at the moment is also climbing Kilimanjaro, and I've set it out to inspire people, to show them that what is possible, and especially I think what you just shared, those some of those learnings are very important. First, you have to find the purpose, and that's why our hashtag for climbing Kilimanjaro is Kili on purpose. Because, like you just said, if you don't have a purpose, what's going to drive you? What becomes your why? What becomes your must? Because I believe that is what fuels you to reach that top. And then leadership, I think it's very important. You're the first one that I've found that said it. First you have to lead you, because my whole principle in life is about you can only give what you have. So if you want to lead people, you need to know how to lead yourself. And then I think we can touch a little bit on it, the value proposition, so that I can share it with my group. How did you go about to sponsoring yourself for this trip? It's not only about sponsoring yourself for this trip, but I think there's a lot of lessons people can learn in this, that maybe to raise funds for their business, to raise funds for non-profit organizations. What are some principles you think that helped you to make this dream of yours a reality?
So the cornerstone, honestly, from a business and I guess social transactional perspective, I needed to come up with a value proposition that would help somebody else or convince somebody else to buy into what I was selling to them, right? And the same principle applies in business. The same principle applies in relationships. It pretty much applies across the spectrum. I mean, you look at animals in nature. If you don't add value to your tribe, to your pack, and to your group, you literally get kicked out. Because if you are just thinking about coming into a group or into a community just to consume and to take and not give anything back, the system will spit you back out. But anyway, the point is we need to define a compelling value proposition. And maybe let me give you the meaning of value proposition. One of the dictionary definitions is a value proposition is a group, a bundle of benefits and advantages, right, that somebody will benefit from interacting with you or interacting with your business. So I needed to find a way of how can I get sponsors to buy into this trip, this journey. So you mentioned sponsoring myself. Remember, the whole idea was not to use my own money. So I can show people who don't have money that, hey, if you have a valid and compelling enough reason, you can literally get somebody else to help you start your business, or to get somebody to make that first order with you. But your value proposition has to be compelling. And so this whole time I kept saying, hey, I want to inspire young people. I want to inspire young people. It didn't work until I flipped that value proposition. And then what I promised to the companies and the individuals that sponsored me was, look, I can give you something else that nobody else can give you. I can take you where nobody else can take you, and I can take you where your competition will probably never get to. And if they do get there, at least you would have been there first. And that would be to take you to the highest part of the African continent. That was my value proposition. So now I wasn't speaking about myself, what I was trying to do, but I was speaking to their aspiration, something they would love to do, which is to be seen as a company that's on the highest part of the African continent, which was on the summit of Mount Kilimanjaro. And so when I offered that value proposition, it hit where it mattered most, which is emotionally in their hearts. And then they also bought into the idea of then supporting, the initiative and then seeing beyond just their value proposition, but then seeing that behind this initiative there are other people that are being supported, other people that are human beings just like them, and they also have aspirations, and they need to be inspired in order to move to the next level. So in sharing what that value proposition is, find out what your potential sponsor would want to achieve, would want to gain out of dealing with you, and then you offer them that particular value proposition.
I think that is powerful, but I think if I had to bring in, and I think it's like Tony Robbins says, motion creates emotion. And so, and I think that is what you want to create in people. You want to move them basically. But
100%.
now that's what the first part is. Now you create, now you have the sponsors. Now, how do you prepare yourself on a feat like this? Because I think you can compare this to business as well. You know, facing that, opening up a first business is that fear. You just don't go climb a Kilimanjaro, decide I'm going to do it tomorrow. Or even if you decide it, it's like tomorrow I'm going to start a business. If you're not prepared, if you fail to prepare, you're prepared to fail. So tell us quickly in a broad sense, how did you prepare for Kilimanjaro? And then while you're talking as well, how was the journey? Was it easy as everyone thinks it is? Is every day easy, like in life? Or does it become challenging over time?
So let me maybe start with the later part of the question that you asked, how easy it was. And I'm amazed at, I thought it would be difficult. I thought it would be one of the most, challenging feasts ever in my life, right? But because of the reasons why I was doing it, the purpose that was driving me, and the overall, I think, openness that I had towards this goal itself, it was easy until that very last day, right? The preparations were there. I could have prepared a whole lot more, and I do share some of the things that I had left out that led to that could have been detrimental to my own trip and the summit, i.e., I didn't prepare as much as I could have prepared. But physically, I was ready. I'm not the most physically active of people, but I took my time, and I put in effort in ensuring that I prepared for the trip, that I prepared for the summit. And we'll come back to that. What I want to touch on is that when I mention about the fact that just because you don't have experience in a particular field or your business or whatever the case may be, doesn't mean that you must literally just open your doors and start your business today without doing your research, without doing your planning, without speaking to people like the Petrus Nel of this world and Dr. Alexandra Evergroen to find out the journey that they have traveled, right? So you can learn from their mistakes, learn from their successes, learn from their failures, and let people like them guide you. Do your research. In business, we say, develop your minimum viable product before you launch, right? Before you over invest, so that you can minimize your risk. And it's the same thing with Kilimanjaro. I needed to go and see if I could climb the little copies around the corner, if I could hike 5 kilometers. And you know what? One of the most testing things about Kilimanjaro is how slow you must walk. You understand what I'm saying? Because we in this fast-paced society where we want everything right here, right now, it was amazing to learn how you need to slow yourself down if you want to go further, if you want to reach your goal. Baby steps count a lot. They count very much, especially in these kind of feasts, these kind of missions, so to speak. So we did prepare. There were a couple of weekends that my mentors took me out on different hikes. I made sure I needed to get my boots months before, right? And I think that's a great metaphor for preparation. Is on Kili, if you want to survive, just like in business, get your boots. Get your boots first, wear them in before you hit the ground running. Because if you really want to get blisters, if you want to avoid blisters, make sure you do that. And the same thing applies in business. If you want to avoid failure, great failure, if you want to avoid mistakes that can easily be avoided, start early, research, do your planning, speak to people, find mentors. And lastly, I just want to say that one of the most beautiful things that I experienced in my preparations that ultimately led to me succeeding and summiting Kili, I was coached and mentored by 5 beautiful women. you know it was just women. It was only women in the team of people that guided me up to the mountain, until I eventually got to Tanzania. And, the story is a little different over there.
It sounds like you had nice motivation, A
It
man
was
gets
fantastic,
motivation like that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so easy.
Yeah, no, it did. It
But
did.
again, that also brings you back to who you surround yourself with, that motivates you.
100%.
You surround yourself with the right people, if they're beautiful or not. But if
Yeah,
they take you forward and if they move you
yeah,
forward, then you have to surround yourself. Like you are surrounding yourself with Petrus and Alexander, that is,
yeah.
you can only excel. There's no way you can't. And I think if you have to tell me, you said that last day is the most challenging.
Mm,
But
mm.
just quickly share with everyone, how did it feel when you got to the top? When you had to look down and everything, and you made it.
Yeah. So maybe let me just take a couple of steps back, right? Um, One of the most important things about climbing Kili is to avoid looking at the summit as much as you can, right? And the reason you want to do that is because you want to stop being overwhelmed by how big that mountain is. Whether that mountain is a literal mountain or whether it's a goal that you are trying to achieve. Stop looking up there all the time because it's going to overwhelm you. Face down and look at every step that you need to take, number one, to ensure you don't fall. Have your plan, have your big goals in life, but you need to focus here today. You need to focus on the tasks that will ultimately get you there. And another interesting metaphor that I now like to apply in business is when you climb Mount Kili, in order to get acclimatized, is you climb up, right? But we sleep low, right? So we climb up so that we can get used to the climate. But however, in order for our bodies to not be shocked by sleeping up too high, in terms of the altitude, we have to sleep low. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of us in business understand is that, things don't go smooth like that in life and in business. There are ups and downs, right? That's one of the things that I really enjoyed about Mount Kilimanjaro. But back to the last day, um, you know, you never know how altitude, especially as high as Mount Kilimanjaro is, you don't know how much is going to affect you until you are actually there. Right? It's difficult to literally prepare for that last day, because the best way to see how that last day is going to affect you is to actually be on that mountain, right? And anyway, the story was almost every day we needed to obviously sleep in our clothes because in the night it is bloody cold, right? Balaclavas and all, right? Your buffs over your nose, 2 pairs of gloves. It was very interesting. And I'm a guy who likes to keep warm even when I'm here in Joburg, you know what I mean? So I was very pleasantly surprised that I was able to take the cold up there. It isn't major life destroying type of cold, obviously depending on what time of the year you go. So we went at a very great time of the year, which was in August. It wasn't rainy, it wasn't wet. During the day, on some days, it was pretty sunny, and I would just be in my t-shirt. But that last day, bro, I think we got up at. So we were advised to sleep at 6, 7, right, early evening, because we were going to get up at 10, 11 to start climbing, right? That last summit is literally 1 kilometer, Guess how long it took us to walk that one last kilometer? It took us about 10 hours. 10 hours, 1 kilometer, because of how slow we need to walk, right? The lack of oxygen up there. I mean, it isn't completely zero oxygen, but there isn't as much oxygen as a couple of kilometers further down. It was the coldest night, the coldest experience I've ever been through. I mean, that last day, literally, you wear three pairs of pants, right? You wear your fleece pants, you wear skiing pants, and obviously your cargo pants. So you are able to, you use your different pockets to be able to carry all the different items you may need to. Um, I was wearing two pairs of socks, obviously my boots and feet warmers. Those heat packs. Yeah, we needed to put heat packs in our gloves. I needed to wear two pairs of gloves, and I was wearing maybe 5, 6 different layers, right? And then a hat and a balaclava. It was extremely cold, but I really don't want to scare anyone off and say that don't go because it's extremely cold. It's the coldest night, on the mountain that very last night. It took us about 10 to 12 hours to walk that last kilometer, and the water that you carry literally freezes. So it's also important to get the right kind of bottles and to flip them upside down while you're carrying them, right? If you're not carrying the tubes that lead directly into your mouth, you carry them upside down so that when they freeze, at least you can still open the bottle and suck in whatever little bit of water is closer to the cap. So that was very interesting. And we are advised to drink a lot of water, not only at the top, but throughout the journey. And one of the most interesting things was how the guides, were not drinking water. So it's important to drink the right amount of water, or else it can actually weaken you, when you're up there. And at about 4 or 5 in the morning, I think we were maybe 70% on the way. The most beautiful sunrise I've ever experienced was coming up from the east, obviously, and it was amazing. And it took us another 5 hours or so to get to the summit. And when we got there, each and every one of us cried like babies, because of how beautiful it was and how tough that 1 kilometer was. Right? It was, I honestly struggle to always think back of how it was and to be able to talk about it. But all I can say, it was the most amazing thing I've ever experienced in my entire life.
Wow, yeah, that is amazing, and it's good you telling me that, because I have to prepare myself mentally to get to that point. But I think all that learnings you get, from doing that, I think it's the same in business. How many times do people give up in business on that last stretch, and they're so close of making it, and then yet
100%.
they give up? And how many were you in your group, if you had to tell me? Um, KK, how many were in your group that in summited, and how long did you go, and what route did you choose?
So remember, it was a one-man climb, right? And so all the campaigning I was doing on my own. All the fundraising, all the preparations. I didn't train with the group that I eventually went with. I trained with Mamtandi. Mamtandi Ndlovu is the owner, the CEO and owner of Muteo Construction, one of the most successful construction companies in the country. And one of the things that really surprised me about how successful this woman is, she didn't know who I am from a bar of soap, but she made the time. And I really love people like Mamtandi, the Pete's and the Alexanders of this world, multimillionaires, but they make time for the ordinary folks like the rest of us. So what then happened was, sorry, I just lost my trail of thought. I think I'm just taken by just how beautiful this whole experience was.
Yes.
So when we were Cobus, please just remind me.
Yeah, what I was talking about was about what route did you climb? Did you also climb the
We
Masheni
flew
route?
we took the Machame route, which is it's a route that I honestly say I think is the best route, because the longer you take on the mountain, it's 5 days to climb up, right, all the way up to the summit from Machame Gate. The longer you take, the more your body acclimatizes, right? It's important to take that route. If you take a route that's shorter, some of your people may struggle with that because they won't have as much time in order to acclimatize. All right, so it's important to do that.
Yeah, it's
Um,
luckily we're taking 7 days actually to climb, total 9 days. So we're actually taking two more longer days,
oh, nice,
especially
nice.
because of that and because of my ankles. You know, I'm taking
Yeah,
crutches with, and
yeah,
I'm at the point where I will crawl to get to the top. You know,
yeah,
there's no way of
yeah.
turning back.
And
Um,
it's one step at a time, man. And
yeah.
so back to the number of people. I was trained by people who had climbed Kili before, and then I literally only met my group on the plane, right? Malcolm from, not your Malcolm, Malcolm, who runs Summit Ventures. He was one of the people who also contributed. He reduced the rates that I needed to pay. He introduced me to the group that he knew was going. I met some amazing people in a group. There were 12 of them, right? And so I joined the group on the last day. They had told me about this group, and we just could never get our dates together in order for us to meet before. And then so I met them on the plane, wonderful people, and all of us summited except for one lady. And but there was years ago. So from my understanding is I think she went a year or two later, and she also got to summit and to experience what we all experienced. Um, and so yeah, it was a 99% success rate, and I think we all gelled so well when we were there. And I don't think you can avoid that, you know, because when you go up there, the mountain strips you of whatever ego you have. Everybody's equal on that mountain, you know. And I talk about this in the book as well. You get to a point where, bro, there aren't toilets. You're gonna literally pull your pants down and do your thing right in front of other people. You understand what I'm saying? Because number one, you can't walk that far off, right? Not because it's dangerous, but you want to preserve your energy. I mean, it's a clean mountain, but they do have long drop toilets, etc., etc. But where I come from, we used to use long drop toilets, so it wasn't a new experience for me, but it was beautiful to watch all of these people from the fourways, from the Sandton northern suburbs, who are used to automatic flushing toilets, and now they needed to use long drop toilets like like the rural areas and the poor people in this country and obviously other countries.
Yeah,
But
that's
anyway.
amazing, and I think
Yeah,
that
yeah,
is that strips you of your ego, and that's
yeah.
the reason. If I have to laugh, why the package we choose, they take a portable toilet for you. So I make sure that I have something to sit on.
Yeah, yeah. Nice, nice. But you can sit on a long drop, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's amazing. On this route, on Mashami route, I
Mm.
just want you to share with people. There's two things. There's the Barranco Wall, and then the
Yes,
Kissing Rock.
yes.
How was that
So,
experience?
okay, so one of the one of the dumbest things that I did, right? And I don't remember if I don't think it was intentional at all, right? Was there were forms that I forgot to complete, and these were my insurance forms, right? So please make sure everybody signs the insurance forms, right? Obviously, Lord forbid nothing bad happens, but you want to prepare, just like in business, just like in life. You want to ensure that your insurance is nice and ready should you need it. So as we were, hiking towards the Barranco Wall, there was day 3. Um, I had always been walking and hiking behind my group, but that time, for some reason, I ended up in the front, right? And halfway to the Barranco Wall, I then I could see boulders, freestanding boulders, big rocks, right? And I want to try and see where my team is. And I think, yeah, I tried to see where they were. And then I climbed on the boulders. Bro, I fell. from on top of the boulders. I created a risk myself, right? And it's one of the things I would say. Some rocks look very solid, but you never know which one is not, and you don't want to find out while you're on top of it. But I was lucky that I was able to spring off the rock completely, or else it would have crushed both my legs if I hadn't done that. So that was a stupid mistake. People need to be careful on the mountain. It's not a mountain that you climb as such. It's actually a hike. It's a walk. That's also something that's important for people to understand, that you don't use picks and axles and everything to climb this mountain. Including the kissing wall, which is one of the scariest things. I love taking pictures off the wall, because when you're down at the bottom, there's different groups, right? One of the most beautiful things to experience was all the different colors of clothing that people obviously wear on the mountain, and you could see a beautiful swerving line that goes up against the wall. And then somebody dropped a bag, right, on the wall while they were climbing. And again, also, it's not necessarily such a climb with pixels. It's a hike up the mountain, but it's very steep, right? And they dropped a bag, and then two of the porters, got very creative, and they put some slings together, and they literally put one around one guy's waist, and they lowered him down, to get the bag. And that spoke to commitment, bro. It wasn't their bags. It was one of the climbers' bags. Those guys were phenomenal, phenomenal. And I want to quickly talk about how, when we climb these, when we go as tourists, right, as visiting climbers, we all nicely dressed. We got these boots, we got these, this equipment and all of this gear. Some of the guys are climbing that mountain with sandals and shorts. Sandals and shorts, bro. And they have climbed that mountain over 100 times, but they're the most humble people, and they risk themselves, to to help us who are trying to climb for the first time. So it was one of the most inspirational things to experience as well.
And that's why I want to come with you now, because I think, in the sense, is now after the mountain, and like learnings like that about the porters.
Yeah.
What has happened since then? I know you've written a book, but how is this helping you to teach businesses to grow? How does it help you to connect with influential people? How's your life changed since then, and what is the learnings that you could take from it? Because I think it's important, like with the porters. In life, there's going to be people at the bottom that's going to help you to get somewhere, and we sometimes mistake them, and we take advantage of them, and we forget about them. So let's quickly, because we've been on for a while, so let's go to the end now so that we can have questions. But
Sure.
From the mountain till now.
So you touched on a I guess a beautiful concept around people at the bottom, pushing you up. And at the other end, I also have had these multimillionaires who were also just as humble. So I had this contrast of two different types of people, who come from different lifestyle, who live different lifestyles, were supporting me. So it was one of the most beautiful things to experience. I tell people this all the time. When I went up that mountain, I literally died. I literally died and came back a completely new person. What you are seeing now is a completely different person to the one that took the very first steps through the Machami gate and up that mountain. So it literally changed me. So much so that when I came back, at the time I had a staff complement of 14 people, right? And because of the first thing I have to mention is about 10 of those people had made a commitment with me to climb Mount Kili, but none of them came with me because they needed to raise their own money. I wasn't going to try and make things easy for anyone who was going to climb that mountain. If I wasn't going to make it easy for myself, I wasn't going to make it easy for anybody else, right? But when I came back, it took me about a month or two to be in a position where I realized I was in a group of the wrong kind of people. I literally disbanded that entire team of 14 people, which was a big pride of mine to have grown my business up to a place where I could employ 14 people. Right? But because I realized who I had become, who I needed to become in order to reach the next summit in my life, I needed to disband, the groups. I needed to choose new people in my life. You know how they say, the average, the 5 people you hang around with, you become the average of that. So that was one of the things I realized I needed to change in my life, because I was aiming higher, right? And I had been planning to write books for years. But then when I came back from Kili, it took me 3 weeks to finish a book, right? I put this book together, and then when people ask me to talk about my journey up Kili, you know, it was something that I've always been a coach, a trainer, and a facilitator of programs. But it was different to stand in front of people to then talk about something you've achieved that they hadn't. You know, one of the groups that I spoke to was Ellerins, the Ellerins group. You remember this multi-billion rand annual turnover company had been falling. They were holding on to their last, little bit. Bro, they called me to come and talk to them about their rest of Africa strategy. They had obviously failed in South Africa, but they were so inspired by this story and my journey and my talk where they had experienced it before. They called the leaders from the different countries in Southern Africa, and they asked me, to facilitate a say an inspirational strategy session for them. It was humbling to be in that position, but then I realized the power that I had in the experiences that I was creating for people. And since then, the levels of commitments that I make, the decisiveness that I'm able to decide on something very specific, um, again, it made me a completely new person. You know, if you ask me today to do something, I'm not afraid to tell you no. If anybody asks me, that's one of the biggest things that I learned to say no. And they say your wealth comes more from the things you say no to than the things you say yes to. And again, it was one of the things that I learned. you know my life completely changed, bro. And since then, I've published 3 books. I'm working on my 4th one. I meet and hang around with people like yourself. I can walk on fire as well. In as much as I might be guiding and leading other people, I've learned to be guided as well and to be led by other people. All these amazing people in my life, I'm truly blessed, since having climbed that mountain. I'm able to touch people's lives, to inspire, to lead, to motivate, and to. I'm fearless right now, and I know what that feels like, But that summit made me that person. I had always wanted to be that person, but it was that journey that took me up there, up to the summit, that eventually made me this person. And just lastly, the Swahili people, the people in Tanzania, call that mountain the house of God. I literally met God when I got up there, and he removes the old me, and I came back a new person. So that was it for me.
Yo, that's amazing. I even get goosebumps just thinking about what you just said, the house of God and meeting God. And I think now is the journey ahead. What is ahead for you now going forward? I know you're writing the 4th book, but there's 2 of your friends on here as well, Petrus and Alexander. What I see you planning something as well, So where is this going, and what is the plans?
So I was lucky to have been through the relationships and the connections that I was able to make over the last few years. I was introduced. Pete had always been watching, following me. He'd always seen some of the things that I've been involved in. We'd met many years ago, and we reconnected recently through another friend of ours in Spain, Derek Barber, who then officially introduced me properly to Beatrice Nell and Dr. Alexandra Evergroen, who are amazing individuals. They're amazing entrepreneurs. They've achieved, I've achieved this much compared to the lot that they have, and I'm truly humbled with what they've invited me to be part of. So on the 26th of May, we've got an amazing event called the Mind of a Millionaire. right? A lot of people want to succeed in life, right? And the first thing that one needs to change in order to achieve goals is all in here. In the same way that I couldn't do the same stupid workshops that I used to do in the past in order to inspire people to achieve big goals, I needed to risk my life like I did and to climb Kili in order to change people's minds. And so these two gentlemen have invited me to be one of 4 speakers. Pamela Niemant is one of the speakers as well. I'm really looking forward to meeting her in person. But again, I'm amazed and just humbled and inspired to be part of this event. Again, the event is called Mind of a Millionaire. And if you don't mind, I can quickly just share the link, for people who are.
Yes, please share with it. I think I know Pamela Niemand, and she's also walked on fire. So that is nice that you have some lady influence there. But also, where can people get hold of you for this event if they're interested? Because I'm going to upload this. I'm going to share it with everyone that said they can't make it so that they can watch this video as well.
Fantastic. Appreciate it. So I mean, people can get a hold of me via social media. My email address, info@kkdiaz.co.za. Pretty easy. And sorry, let me just quickly find that link. Info@kkdiaz.co.za. And I'm on Facebook, KK Diaz SA. On Twitter, it's KK Diaz _SA. And on LinkedIn, just look for KK Diaz, and I should be the only guy there.
Is it? Okay.
But yeah, I'm just quickly finding the
so while you're finding that link,
while we speak, yeah.
I think one thing that I want to do on the mountain, I just want to ask you if you think it will be possible. I want to take in broken glass with me. Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to do sort of a world record attempt. I want to walk on top of the mountain on broken glass. Do you think that would be possible?
So you're thinking at which stage of the mountain were you thinking of doing this?
I'm thinking, well, probably at the summit. I'm not going to take a lot of glass, just enough for a porter to carry.
Okay.
So to take it, can you take off your shoes at the summit?
Yeah, look, once you've summited, I think you get about an hour, maybe, yeah, just over an hour, of time of being up there once you've summited. And I think once you've arrived, bro, you can go crazy and do something like that. I think it would be an amazing experience. It would be an amazing record, actually. So yeah, I'd say, yeah, do it.
Okay, no, I'm looking forward to that. And I think if you would love, is there anyone that is on now that would love to ask questions? But I also would love you to introduce your 2 friends, Petrus and Alexander, and if they want to just introduce themselves, that would be great, so people can just know who you surround yourself with.
Fantastic, thanks. I think give them an opportunity to speak for themselves, so they can truly do justice to that.
Petrus, you want to go first?
Great, I'll do that. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great, fantastic. Hey, well done, KK. What an inspiration. You actually had me in a few tears there at one stage. And I can really relate with, I was just writing down here now, I've climbed my own mountains in my life, in business. And as you mentioned, serial entrepreneur. And it's an honor to be listening to you once again. I've listened to the story before, and man, it's really inspiring. And going on this journey with yourself and Alexander with the mindset of a millionaire, absolutely, it's heartwarming to have such great minds and great people on the same journey with the same mindsets. And just listening to you with your experience with climbing Kilimanjaro and what you've had to endure and all those little steps that you had to take to get to the summit. I mean, what you implement in business and what you give back to the people just by climbing that mountain is just absolutely insane information. And that's all from experience. And I mean, same with me, same with Alexander. We talk out of experience. And it's just humbling to know that guys like you, with the experience that you've had on that mountain, that you share it, and it touches so many people. And I mean, I can relate. Like I said just now, you actually had me in tears at at two stages of your talk. Really, really inspiring stuff. And Kobus as well, just listening to his story, a bit of his story, I would like to hear a lot more from Kobus. As I said to you earlier on, I've actually followed Kobus as well for a while. And I would like to hear more about climbing this mountain with the disabilities that he's got. It just blows my mind, really blows my mind. And what an inspirational story will come back from that mountain, from that summit, the day Kobus comes back into this country. And what story is he going to share with us?
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. And well done, guys. Absolutely great.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity, guys.
Thank you for that, Petrus. And if you, and I'm going to give over to Alexander now, but if you and Alexander and the rest of us are listening, Saturday night I'm doing a firewalk in Waverley Sports Club. So it's it's from 6 o'clock till about 10 o'clock. So if you have open, please come as my guest. And then I'm going to share my story there as well. And, you know, then you can come listen and we can meet in person. And then maybe if you are open 9 to 17th of July, there's still 3 months to go. You and Alexander might think to join us and climb Kilimanjaro with, you know. So think about that.
That sounds brilliant. That sounds absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, so I will send you the details about it, but yeah, think about it. You have a good mentor in KK that will prepare you to climb Kili. So that is one thing. So think about it if you are up for the challenge.
It sounds really good.
Okay, so have you noted down?
And also the same with you, Kobus. If there's any way we can help with your journey, please. Our hearts are open and our hands are open.
100%. Thank you for that. I would love to come visit you guys on the 26th to listen as well in your speaking, and I'm looking forward to that. And thank you, Petrus.
Well, maybe you should come and speak with us.
Well, if there's a spot, always, you know. But yeah, sometimes I'm there to serve as well.
Great.
Nice.
Okay, so Alexander, are you ready?
Born ready, so it's something that's in your mind if you're ready enough. So firstly, thank you very much, Kobus, to give me the opportunity to also introduce myself. And KK, thank you for your amazing story. I already read a lot online about the amazing journey you took and you're taking, actually, and all of us taking to going on to the Kilimanjaro. And actually, I'm using in many of my speeches, not the Kilimanjaro, but I use the Mount Everest. There were some people going to the Mount Everest, and I met a few people in Holland, and they were really struggling with themselves. And they also wanted to accomplish something. I said, listen, why are you not going for a mountain that is something that you can reach right now, and I will help you. And in Holland, you got one mountain, and they call it the Grobbenberg, the Grobben Mountain. And that mountain is only 300 meters high. But that lady was 138 kilo. So within 6 months, that lady went back to 92 kilo and went walking in a very, very fast pace and conquered that mountain. And if you see the change in her life, but also in her family life, by just taking a small step, of course, every person has a dream to go to the Kilimanjaro and go to Mount Everest. But firstly, her budget was not there, and she never conquered anything further than the door, or to the supermarket, or to a snack bar. And by changing people's mindset and taking small steps, it's not all that you have to start and going to the top like what KK did and going to the Kilimanjaro and literally die on the mountain to be reborn and actually figure out what life has to offer. And again, what KK said, it's so familiar for me that you learn to say no. It's always easy to say yes, and it's always like, no, I cannot say no, because why should I do that? People don't like me. But changing that yes into a no, that you say, I disagree and I don't do that because, and you have a reason for that, that make many people who are average, makes them amazing. It goes from good to being great. And that's a choice. And going back to me, I'm a motivational speaker and a success coach for 27 years. I was very fortunate to be brought to America by Brian Tracy when I was 19 years old. And I was working for a very big company at that point, and I had to tell in Opryland in Nashville why I was the #1 in the world, 136,000 people in the company. And they told me, you must be a comedian, a public speaker, or an author. Well, I became all. And then I was fortunate enough to work with Tony Robbins and with Zig Ziglar when he was still alive, and with JT Fox. and meet amazing people like you, Kobus, and KK, and Petrus, and Pamela. Of course, I didn't meet all of you in person yet, but it's definitely something that's going to happen in the near future. But it's also something, me as being big in real estate and as a business developer, I lived in many countries. I lived in Malawi, in Ghana, many years in China, in Thailand, Singapore, in Cambodia. And I set up big companies. And what I always do is I give back. I make millions and I give millions back to the society, and mainly children and old people, because those people have normally not a voice. Old people are being put in an elderly home or not even taken care of, and children, they're all eager and they're all being labeled as being, oh, you're not clever enough or you don't know. If you tell it to an 8-year-old child, they feel that and they absorb that and they think that they are a nobody. And who are we to tell them? Because we are here to help them move forward. So what I'm going to do, not only in South Africa, but before that I will go to South Korea for 2 days and talk to a few thousand people. The 8th, I have 2 days event here in Cambodia. The 24th, I have an event in Cambodia. The 30th, I have an event in Cambodia. And mostly of these events are free or only covering the expenses. And what I do is I train people who are last year university, young entrepreneurs, and people who really have to get that boost to recognize the potential and the opportunities in life. And I love to do that. And that's the same thing with South Africa. I have so much vision and ideas about South Africa. South Africa is a beautiful country. I've been there a few times, fortunate. And I've seen so many beautiful things. And many people, they look at the negative side and they see the apartheid and they see the differences. And I don't say, listen, see the opportunities, see the potential, and see what we can bring as facilitators for success, happiness, and a change of mindset. And that's what I'm doing. This is something that is being given to me by God. And that you say, like, listen, why not giving back? I cannot spend 10 million at the same time. So why not give back 8 million to society, help people, building schools, building facilities that people can have a good job, doing adopting programs and use 2 million and be happy that I have $2 million and say, listen, that's more than enough. And this is something that changes your mind. Having 50 million doesn't change my life, but having 2 million and let's say donated $48 million and see 1,000 smiling faces for children, that their lives will be changed, and out of the 1,000 children, maybe 100 children get a very, very successful job and will do the same thing as what I do right now. I'm 46, almost 47 years old, and giving back is the most beautiful thing you can do. And this is what I'm doing in my speaking. I'm an author. I've been published in the New York Times. I'm in Amazon right now. I have 10 books published, and I have bestsellers. And great, I don't make any money with my books. My books are just covering to be recognized, that people know that you do more. My events, my speeches are always custom made for what I'm doing and what I want to say. And that's great, because that's also a gift given to me, that I'm very easy. If you ask me to do a speech about the Kilimanjaro and what is all the challenges and whatever, I prepare myself 1 hour, because it's all related back to the same issue, the same point, a mindset. Change your mindset, believe in yourself, give it all. Dare to say no. If people say like, okay, you lead, listen, no, I'm not ready for that. I will follow, because at that point I have to learn. And when I'm learning, I'm evolving, and when I'm evolving, I'm halfway. Maybe I'm good enough to say, okay, I'm going to be in halfway, and in the end, I may be at the top and reach the top at first. That's it. You always have to make choices in life, and that's what I like. And again, as you can see, I am a speaker, and I'm a guy who also really good at listening, but I love to talk. And if you don't stop me, in the end you say, listen, this is KK's interview.
No, 100%.
If I can come in there. And I just want to quickly say something. Alex, thank you. Petrus, thank you. You know, these guys, you ask them to talk about the event, and they don't. What they do, the first thing they do is to show their appreciation, is talk about all the wonderful things that they're doing. Because we're not just about selling. You know, we are all about making a positive difference to our lives. And I know I'm preaching to the choir. You know, and just to maybe touch a little bit about the event, you know, some of the things that the gentlemen are talking about. We're going to truly offer some amazing insight and business strategies, you know, that are going to help people to really start thinking differently if they are going to pursue their own mountains in the future. You know, yes, the event is called Mind of a Millionaire, but it's all about all of us embracing the fact that we need to become millionaires here first in our minds before all the riches and the wealth will come. And what we want is not just about making the money so we can make it rain. It's about making the money so we can all make a difference. And if you come to that event, if you come to the different sessions that we'll be hosting and the different wonderful speakers that we're going to have, you're going to learn so much. You know, one of the things that Alex and Beatrice asked me to do is one of the signature things that I do, which is to truly help people break boards as a metaphor to help them break through, you know, to find their breakthrough. And I see some of you know, some of my entrepreneurs that I work with on the call, and literally a few weeks ago, and I'm actually going to share the video, they went through the breaking of the boards as well. It was a phenomenal experience, and we want to share that with the world. So come to the 26th of May. There's a link that we've just shared with you. Kobus is also going to share it with you again. You know, link with us on Facebook. I've also just shared my Facebook link. Follow us over the next few weeks. We're going to be sharing a lot of interesting and motivational and transformational knowledge and information. And, you know, come be with us, come spend time with us. You know, let's all learn and share with each other, but with the, you know, with one objective in mind, for us to become bigger and better people, so we can truly change the lives of people out there.
100%. And thank you for that. I know the board break is powerful. I did one for Nedbank the other day, 150 nice. People. Wow. Oh, and wow. Now they just came. For some of them, the board break was more powerful than walking on fire, you know.
I know what you mean.
And so, and I would like to put out my thing to, and I'm going to give it over to you now, Alexander. For Alexander and Petrus, if you are willing, I put my details in. I would love to do the same type of interview with you as well. Somewhere next week or the week after, depending on your schedule. And so please let me know what times you are suited, and then we can do that. So Alexander, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, that's correct. And again, thank you, KK, to emphasize almost the humbleness that we all have. Again, the 26th of May, the mindset of a millionaire, again, indeed, is not about being a millionaire, but we want to change people's mindset that they all can become a millionaire. A millionaire is just the way you think. And what we do is not only the 26th, we bring very powerful, down-to-earth methods and amazing things that will be absorbed by any person, including rich, poor, it doesn't matter where you come from. And what we do next to this is also, after the 26th, we are planning to go to universities, to young entrepreneurs associations, and we do this for free. And we just want to help other people also to change their mindset, because we want to create like a hype. We will come back. This is not a one-off. This is something we do bigger. And the next time, definitely, Kobus, I'm very open to talk to you about firewalking. I did it a few times in events in South Korea, and I never heard so many women scream and yell and whatever. And in the end, when they run over it, they were like flabbergasted, and it's amazing. They see almost as a god. They see it that I did it. They said, listen, this is something you did yourself. So this is something we definitely love to include. When KK sent me the video of the board breaking, the easiness and the power, but then also the relaxation that he brings back to those people standing in front of that board and have to hit it with their fist, it's amazing. And again, these are things I did myself, but when I see it with KK done with the person, it brings back so much energy in that side. These things we can bring and implement during that one-day event, and hopefully even when it's busy enough, we can make it a two-day event. But I will be there for at least 4 or 5 days, going to those other venues like universities, like associations, and we're just sharing the words. We hope to do some radio programs just to show people, listen, some ordinary guys. I fly 14,000 kilometers. I come from Holland, but I'm now living in Cambodia. I will fly 14,000 kilometers to share my knowledge and my commitment to success and happiness with all people. I got a great guy like Petrus. I got an amazing guy like KK. I got a fantastic lady, a beautiful Mrs. Johannesburg joining us. I got Kobus here. I got a few other people joining, but it's great. And this is just the beginning of a movement that we can say, like, listen, all of us can be the same, and that means at the top, but we have to commit ourselves, and that's drive. If you have a drive to get to that point, we are all here to help you. And if you're willing to open up, if you're coachable, you can reach it. And it's just a smaller journey. If you see that KK said, listen, I did it all by myself. I had people around me. I had a lady, very successful business lady, and you do your own way, and then you hook up, and then you move together. It's all, you always have to rely on one person in life, and that's yourself. And then you find a team around you who inspires you and who can help you move forward. And if you've got 50 people, great people, but 48 of these people not moving you forward, but actually always holding you back, saying, listen, you're a great guy, but that's nothing for you. You cannot do it. Cut yourself loose from them, because they will hold you back to your dreams. Same thing with you, Cobus. You tell me your joints not there. Many people say, why do it? Why struggle? Hey, that's something that you need to do. You say that you are ready for getting that journey and getting those steps done in life, and other people say, Cobus, don't do it. Don't even trouble. Why? I would say, Cobus, go for it. And if you're done with this one, then I'm going to help you train for going to the Mount Everest. You know, you have to be inspired by someone that says, are you serious? Hey, listen, if you conquer that mountain, I'm going to train with you for the Kilimanjaro, for not only the Kilimanjaro, but also the Mount Everest. And maybe I only make it to base camp, but at least I tried it.
Yeah.
You see, it's always easy to say no. So this is just what I wanted to add. Sorry.
No, that's fine. And I think it's empowering. And I think people can learn a lot. And thank you for sharing your wisdom. I'm looking forward to doing a whole program with you. And then thank you for KK. I think those who are watching is, you know, some of the lessons. Thank you, KK, for learning us the power of climbing the mountain. That it's up to you and only you. And it's also very important. It's about who you surround yourself with, the team. And I think so far we are looking, my team that is climbing, we're looking like a powerful team, and especially by Petrus joining as well. Petrus, thank you for the thumbs up. So thank you, guys. I just want to remind everyone, it's all about you have to have a purpose. Then you have to focus on leadership. It's about leading yourself first. And then what is your value proposition? Not only towards yourself, but towards those people supporting you and sponsoring you. And then the last thing I think is very important is about building the right relationships. So I think... and
commitment, yeah.
And commitment, yeah. That was number 5, yeah. So thank you for that. Thank you for everyone joining. I think we can close down. Remember, guys, I'm going to send you the link of KK's and Paul and Alexander, Petrus and Alexander's event, the Mindset of a Millionaire event, and I'm looking forward to all meeting you. Petrus, are you coming on Saturday night? Okay, so you're coming on Saturday night, and KK, am I seeing you on Saturday night?
Not only are you seeing me, I'm bringing my 14-year-old boy. You know, I'm gonna help give him that experience to learn as young as he is, that he can overcome, you know, what may be a fearful experience. And I thank you for that experience. Yeah, so Saturday night, if you come, I'm doing a new metaphor called the knife drop. So it's very life-threatening. It's a testing. It's
great. I'll be there.
So that's good. Okay, so thank you again. Thank you for the time. Thanks, you all enjoy your night. Looking forward to Petrus and Alexander for the next interviews. Everyone, have an amazing night. Thanks, everyone. Cheers. Good night.
Great. Thank you. Cheers, guys.